Hi everyone, welcome back to If My Heart Had Wings, the Twins Route, episode 10. And based on how I played this in the Japanese version, I'm pretty sure this will be the last episode for the Asa fork of the Twins Route. So we'll go back and choose the option if Aoi decides to go up with no one. So anyways, the glider is now modified, rebuilt, and for the test flight, Aoi decides to take Asa out. And Asa for the first time is very excited because I'm in a glider, something with no engines, and it's in the sky, and I can see all the things that I cannot see while I'm on ground. So let's see how it goes from here. And so far everything's been kind of normal, and the date between Asa and Aoi has gone pretty well. And Yoru is kind of in the back helping, except she does get a little jealous that Aoi chose Asa over her. Okay, so Asa's like, so I've confirmed the release of the towing gear under the body. So we should be able to fly just fine now. Of course. So we are. This is a glider. So we continue going up for a while and then plateaued. So the body of the glider straightened out, and now that we are level, we can see the town of Kazegaura spread out and looking tiny beneath us. So the glider kept flying forward, descending slightly, and unless we use some thermal currents to fly back up, again, we continue to sink down from now on. So it had been so long since I'd flown, the sky stretched out endlessly around us. It was exhilarating. Yep, that's right. Whoosh, so from the sound inside the canopy, or from inside the canopy, we could hear the sound of the glider cutting through the wind. And it felt like we were being held up by the sound itself. Okay? Hahaha, yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. But this flight was not stuck to any rails. So I controlled the glider to keep it from sinking too fast, turning to the left and then to the right, showing off the various moves. But at least we're flying. Yep. So she was looking at the sky, not up at it, but straight on. And it was something that was only possible when she was flying through it. So do you want to try flying it then? Well, I can't. But whenever you have free time during club hours, you always practice the simulator every day, right? Well, someday, not now. So try it just a little. I'll tell you what to do, and if you make a mistake, I'll cover for you. So just move it softly, gently, okay? Okay then. So we won't die, it's fine. I knew she was decent at flying the simulator, and I could always take over in a pinch. I gave the controls over to Asa just for a bit. So keep doing it just like I was, okay?
右に旋回してみます。
Okay, go for it.
こうですか？
So Asa moves awkwardly, turning the yoke and the rudder. Right. And left. And she was a bit clumsy, and I jumped in to cover for her several times, but Asa manages to slowly fly the glider.
ちゃんと飛べてる。
Yeah, so you're fine. So I think you're well suited to this.
それは良かったです。
So shall I take the controls again?
はい、お願いします。
So I took over the controls. Asa sighed deeply. She must have been really nervous. So you flew through the sky, didn't you? Or you know?
少しだけでしたし、だいぶ降りちゃいましたけど。
So then we can just go up again, like this. So I found a thermal current, so I flew onto it and raised our altitude. And the glider lifted up softly, and our view grew wider again. See?
先輩はすごいです。
So, well, I've gotten pretty used to it by now. I've flown before. So I even gotten a license.
先輩、こんな時でなんですが、少し話を聞いてもらってもいいですか？
So what do you want to tell us?
私、鳥の気持ちが分かりませんでした。
So how a bird feels.
そうです。鳥は私の気持ちを分かってくれないと、そんなことも思っていたんです。そしてそれがすっごく不安でした。周囲が鳥ばかりだから、私だけ取り残されたような、そんな感覚がして。
She must have been talking about her family. So many of them really excelled at what they did. She was surrounded by talented people like Yoru.
鳥たちはいつだって空を見ています。今のこの綺麗なこの世界を眺めているんです。でも
Hold on, I went too fast.
鳥たちはいつだって空を見ています。今のこの綺麗なこの世界を眺めているんです。だからそういうの理不尽だって思ってました。
Okay? So, but what?
私飛べなくてもよかったです。今なんとなくそんなこと思っちゃいました。だって飛べなかったから、それが普通じゃなかったから、今この空を綺麗に感じられているんでしょうから。
That's right. So a person who could fly would never understand this feeling. She could feel this because she could not fly, and that's why she could experience this luxury.
どうして人が地を這うのか分かった気がします。それはきっと空を飛ぶためなんですよ。
Well, that must be it. So, longing, envy, trying to grab something huge to go somewhere high. And the world we yearned to fly freely through when we were children was here before us now. And I couldn't think of anything better. But if we've been able to fly freely through it ever since we were small, we wouldn't be feeling that wonderful sensation now. That's true. It's like, well, if we can't fly naturally, then seeing this is nothing special. It's just another day, another...
きっとこれは地べたを知っている人間にしかわからない高みです。だから私は地を張ったんです。
So Asa could really understand this. And more than those around her, she could truly feel uplifted. Okay.
私は幸せ者です。この短い期間に2つの最高をつかむことができて。
Huh?
先輩とこの空と。なんて、すみません。こんな時まで恥ずかしいこと言っちゃって。
So that was just cute. Okay, so Aoi keeps mentioning to Asa that she's cute. So saying this at a time like this made me even happier. So I think I found one so far. If we reach Morning Glory, it'll be 2.
成功させましょうね、本番。
Yep. And maybe that little boy watching this glider right now can succeed with his big backwards flip. And when he sees Asa, who used to be a crybaby like him, flying through the sky, and maybe he can find a little more courage. And I hope for that as well.
先輩、こんな綺麗な景色だから、せっかくなのでもう一度だけ言わせてください。
So, what do you want to tell me? Asa seems embarrassed, searching for words. But I could guess what it was that she wanted to say. Words, what we said before, but still weren't used to saying. She was trying to say them again now. Alright, so I'll say it to you. Let's say it together.
はい。
Ready?
じゃあ大好きです。
Okay, so they both say, I love you to each other. And up above the sky, the two of us pledged our love for each other. Okay, so this looks like the credits for the Asa fork of the Twins route. And I'm going to go ahead and skip this. And let's see how the epilogue goes for this little fork. So, hold on for a minute. Okay, so we're now in the epilogue for the Asa fork. And it looks like... So, our Morning Glory plan failed. So I wonder why. So it hurts to say that efforts without results are worthless, but when it comes down to it, we weren't able to reach the tunnel in the clouds. Naturally, Kotori and Ageha and I, as well as our advisor Amane, all felt dejected. And Kanaka, who joined us along the way, and Akari, who checked up on us for the school council, and of course Asa and Yoru were as depressed as you would expect. So if anyone was all pleased, it must have been that Tobioka-sensei, and I'm not even sure about him. But of course, we were hungry for another chance and waited for the Morning Glory again the next year. But even during our 3rd and 4th summers, the Cloud Passage never came, and we ended up graduating. So it was as though all the passion we poured into the soaring had amounted to nothing, and the curtain dropped too soon. So I think what happened was that when the Morning Glory came, they failed, and it never came again, even after they graduated. So it was a pleasant ending with a gloomy feeling left behind in our hearts. something happy happened to clear the clouds from our hearts. And it happens. 2 years later. So summer has come once again.
遅いですよ OB.
So I wonder if the morning glory has come again. So I arrived at the runway only to be yelled at by Asa. Oh, I'm sorry. I worked until really late last night, so I could get today off. I was planning to just take a short nap, but I overslept.
もう一人で起きれるって言ったから放っておいたのに、これだったら起こしに行けばよかったです。
It's true. I probably should have just let her come and wake me up then. Okay, so I did forget, but in the last episode, we see that Asa was taking care of Aoi for most of the time. And even if he got up late, Asa was already making breakfast and lunch for him and everyone else. So after all, today was the big day. So the sky wouldn't wait for me to wake up.
間に合ったんだからいいんじゃないの姉さん。もう準備も終わって他の人も来てますよ。
So at that, I look around me. So it looked like I was the last one to arrive. And everyone else was already there and was standing around chatting.
あ、葵くん、遅かったね。
Oh, good morning, Kaneko. I kind of overworked myself last night.
朝ちゃんは元気に来てるじゃん。
No, not that. I mean at work.
かな、発想が汚い。冗談だってば。しかし仕事大変そうね。休日毎日のようにここに来てるけど、きちんと休んでるの
？Well, it's the same with you, so you come to every single flight.
だって気になるし。
Well, so do I.
そっか。だったら仕方ないね。
Nope, nothing to be done. So rather than just resting, I wanted to see as much as I could of this club's activity. And it must have been because I loved it so much. And the first year students were gathering around the winch, learning how to use it. And they were junior members to Asa and Yoru.
私のわがままからスタートしたはずが、随分と長くなってしまったもんだな。
Well, that's right. Some members may leave, but the club keeps going.
イスカの目指した空が共有されてるみたいで、なんだか変な感覚だ。あの子の夢がこんなにも多くの人間の夢に変わるなんてな。
So Kotori and I joined the same way, and even now we kept coming to watch how the younger ones are doing.
私に関してはまだ顧問をやっているしな。
And Amane is still the advisor, and I think she's still teaching at Keifu Academy. She smiles, ironically. So it wasn't that we had any regrets, it was just that this connection we shared made us happy, so we kept coming back. And the glider had been upgraded and upgraded again, and now there are new wings attached to it. And we heard rumors that the members of the robotics club had snuck past Tobioka-sensei to help with the glider modifications. Okay.
モーニンググローリー。飛べるといいな。
Well, I hope we'll be ready for the next Morning Glory. I'm sure they'll make it through, so the future generation of members. So they looked up at the sky to the east, and last night it had glowed bluish purple. So they'll make it this year.
姉さん、そろそろです。
So
乗り込みましょう。
it's time. So Asa and Yoru got into the glider. Asa sat in the front, and Yoru behind her. And they quickly went through all the checklists, closed the canopy, and prepared for takeoff.
先輩、今年こそは超えてみせます。
So, we'll do this year. Yes, I'm counting on you. And Amani's dream was passed on to us. And from us, it was passed down to Asa and the others. And it kept going on and on, continuing the challenge with the sky. And we clung to the sky and kept on dreaming. Maybe it was feelings like these that motivated people to develop the aviation technology used all around the world today. And I couldn't help but think a few remarks or a few romantic thoughts about that.
任せてください。だって私は空を飛ぶために生まれてきたのですから。
And now, the girl who longed for the sky. And that's the end of the Asa fork for the twins' route. Okay, so we're back.
この大空に翼を広げて。
So we're back on the title page for If I Heart Wings, and overall for the Asa fork, it was much more focused on romance than the actual goal of being able to go through the morning glory and being able to soar through the sky. And even though they failed, at least it's not over for anyone. And they keep on coming back, and it's like, well, we're going to pass this spirit of the soaring club on and on and on, and maybe someone down the road will be able to fly to the morning glory again and create new memories. And at least the glider is getting its upgrades, and who knows what the next glider might look like. So I'm going to go back and we're going to see how the twins route goes with the other option where Aoi chooses not to go out with anyone. So, hold on for a minute. Okay, so I'm back at the selection screen, and now let's see how it goes with the don't choose either option. So that night, a few days had passed since she gave me that vague answer, and summer vacation has started. And I was still active in the club, but I never asked or saw Asa there. And ever since then, Asa never showed her face around the club. She was just kept herself holed up in her dorm, and the situation did nothing to boost our morale. And as for me, I'm worried about it every walking moment of every day. Impossible, so I can't choose either one of them. Asa sure thinks a lot about me. And it's not so easy to just ignore Asa's feelings, and I just can't. But still, so it is just as impossible to try to pretend I don't know how Yoru feels. So Yoru had been praying that her sister's love would triumph, so much so that one had smothered her own feelings to death.
姉さんを振ったら承知しません。
And before Yoru did anything, Asa always beat her to it. Well, this time too. So Yoru started acting like that was definitely to resolve the hopeless situation. Yeah, that doesn't really matter anyways. So it's just that I can't seem to play off or neglect Yoru, the thing I got myself into a really indecisive situation. Asa and Yoru are both really important to me. It's not like I can just choose one of them. If I do, there's a chance that it will end up creating a rift between the two of them. So I am... Okay, so he's going to talk with Yoru first, and so she asks that before I even say anything. She is really observant. Yeah, so well then. So it took a lot of courage to say something like that. Well, if I actually came out with it, Yoru might have ended up hating me. It was that kind of thing. But still, well, I'm sorry. So he's saying no to Yoru. That was it. I had to say it. I should have told her properly. Well, I guess... So I was a little surprised that Yoru took it so easily. Well, I mean, it seemed like she was totally ready for it. In my words, my answer. Well, you think so? Well, I was thinking of turning down Asa's confession. Well, of course, it seemed Yoru was a little surprised by this. So I'm just gonna say no to both of you. Well, I'm sorry. I know it's true, but still, I'm really sorry. So she looks really miserable and apologizes. So unusually excited, maybe even getting embarrassed. It was a hard question to answer. A person I like. And there was someone that fits the bill, but still. Let's see. Well, I guess I don't really know. I wasn't very straight with her. I still didn't really know how I felt. And at that point, I had this feeling I liked both of them, but that was Well, that's a malicious way of asking. Sorry, well, I don't really have time to tell you everything now, but I just feel like I don't have anything to hold on to. But anyways, I guess I chose to have it this way. I could not explain. I thought it would be best to just run away. Well, I understand. So Yoru gave me a little nod as if she was agreeing to something, and then... Well, why don't you go tell Nesan then, my sister? She said it with such a strange smile on her face. So I'm sure Yoru knows how Asa will react if Aoi rejects Asa. That Yoru, she is really tough. I thought she was nice. That's why I had that painful tightness in my chest. Okay, so how does Asa respond? It's me. Can I come in? So after I entered her room, Asa became fidgety and she couldn't seem to settle down. Well, I'm sorry about the other day.
いえ、あれはこちらが。
So no matter what, it was going to be awkward for Asa to speak to me. She averted her eyes while she spoke.
先輩。
Yes?
私、わかってます。先輩に言われる前からわかってます。部活だってソアリングだってなんだって私はいつも自分の拠り所を探していました。それで今回は先輩のことが気になりだしたりして。
So everything was going all wrong. I should have spoken up first. I could not let Asa say any more than this. I was caught totally off guard and I ended up letting Asa break the bad news to me. So this was all wrong. So I've been thinking hard about this, trying to come up with my own answer. So, well, I'm sorry. I can't really reciprocate your feelings. And I ended up hurting Asa too. I knew that's how it had to be, but it still hurt inside. And I wonder why the two of them were both desperate to be with me. Well, it's kind of explanatory for Asa, but for Yoru, it's kind of a question. No, it wasn't the time to think about that. I had to tell her properly. So I apologize to Yoru too. Well, actually, Yoru confessed to me later that day, so I apologized. So Yoru is glad too, but I don't know how to handle this. And that's why I feel so bad, so I'm sorry.
どうしてですか?
Wait, so that means, So in a raspy tone, Asa gave a voice to her doubts.
どうして? ヨルちゃんはいい子ですよ。先輩言ってたじゃないですか。かっこいいって。それなのに、どうして?
Well, I don't think of her like that. So I told her clearly, straight up. I didn't think of her like that. Well, because I'm not really interested in either of you. Uh-oh. That sounds pretty blunt. I didn't need to say anything else. And that was all there was to it. So, I'm sorry.
それは嘘です。
Wait, what?
私はずっと人の顔ばかり気にして生きてきました。だからわかるんです。先輩は嘘をついています。
Wait, what? So when I heard her say that, it was as if she was peering right into my heart. Or piercing.
だって先輩はそんな後ろめたそうに目をそらして話す人じゃありません。
Uh-oh. Well, I didn't mean to, I just did it unconsciously.
いつも堂々としてて楽しそうで一生懸命で、だからそんな申し訳なさそうな顔はしません。先輩はそういう顔は。
Well, I forgot. Asa was always extremely sensitive to what was going around her, to people's gestures. And that was the type of girl who is careful regarding the subtleties of this sort of sensitive person.
私は先輩がヨルちゃんを選んでもヨルちゃんを恨んだりしません。そりゃ落ち込むことはあるかもしれないですけど、それはそれで当然というか。
Well, no. You're wrong, Asa. So that's not just how it is.
出てってください。
Wait, Asa?
お願いします。
So there's nothing that he could say anymore to Asa at this point. So I wanted to clear things up. I wanted to explain. But I just couldn't. There was nothing else I could do. In fact, everything that Asa said was completely true. So she was exactly right. It was true that things were hopeless. And there was nothing I could do except leave without saying a word. So Asa could sense that, well, I'm sure Iowa isn't speaking the truth because based on how he is versus now, it does not add up. So, anyways, I was like, I failed. I just laid down on my bed, staring at the ceiling, reflecting on the big mistakes I had just made. And even though I had wanted to hurt Asa, or I had not wanted to hurt Asa, so if I had just clearly chosen to like one or the other, I probably would have still ended up hurting the other one. It's like, well, if I say I like Yoru, then Asa will be upset. But then Asa's like, well, I would understand that you like Yoru better because she's perfect versus me. And when I look at it like this, I understand far too much. I was really hung up on Asa and Yoru both. I mean, that's how I felt. I would have called that woozy sentimental love, but I would probably end up offending someone. But then, so after all, both of them. Okay, so how is tomorrow morning?
朝、まだ熱が下がらないんだって。一度治りかけてたけど、ぶり返しちゃったんだって。だから今日も部活お休みらしいよ。朝ごはんもパスみたい。
So she won't go anywhere. Asa didn't show up at breakfast. And it seems like her condition is deteriorating. And they made a meal for her before we knew she was sick, but it was left on the table untouched. Anyways, before we start eating, we can wrap it up and put it in the refrigerator.
で、何かあったの?
So what happened? Kanako was coming closer, so I whispered. What, yeah, what happened was,
だって、葵くん朝から落ち着きがないし、お箸を何とも持ち直してご飯食べなかったり、かと思ったら、朝ちゃんの食事片付け始めたり。変よ。
Yeah, well, is,
またなんかあったのかなーって思ってさ。ほら、あっちもおかしいし。
So even Yoru is not happy. Yoru just kept eating in silence. And the whole time she wore a permanent scowl on her face.
怒らせるようなことしちゃった?
So what did you do? No, that is, well, I did do something to make them mad. I just couldn't bring myself to turn her down directly. And I had been planning to turn her down, so I figured it would turn out like this. Maybe it's no problem. So I guess this is how it's going to end. Well, maybe it would have been better if I just finished things off with her still misunderstanding. But still, I just kept thinking about it all night last night. And just circling round and round through the labyrinth of my thoughts, but I could not find any answers. Well, for now, so let's just ask Yoru how Asa was doing last night.
先輩。
So how will Yoru respond? So Yoru came to talk before I got a chance.
ごめんなさい。
And she even apologized. What? So why are you apologizing? I should be the one apologizing here.
どうして先輩が謝るんですか？
So why you then? Well, you know, you were upset that I didn't turn down Asa more directly.
え？触れなかったんですか？
No, well I did, but for some reason, it just left me with a bad aftertaste.
私がさっきイライラしていたのは先輩に対してじゃなくて姉さんに対してです。
Yeah, well really? I was a little taken aback by Yoru's abrupt revelation. Because I thought that she was angry with me for hurting Asa. Well, I thought she was mad that I didn't turn her down directly.
姉さんが意味のわからないことを言って子供みたいに閉じこもってるから怒っていたんです。
So, said something you didn't understand?
はい。部屋に戻ったら姉さんはすごく落ち込んでいました。だから励まそうとしたんです。
So it's hard for even me to talk to her.
先輩に振られたから落ち込んでると思ったから。だから元気づけようと。でも姉さん、振られてショックなわけではないって言うんです。だったら何なのかって聞いたんですが、ただ私にごめんって謝ってくるだけで。
Wait, apologized? Well, of course, Asa misunderstood. She thought that I was trying to keep my distance from her so I could be with Yoru. She was pretty close, but still off the mark. And there was no way to explain to her it was a tricky situation.
今朝もそんな感じです。多分熱はないですよ。引きこもっていたみたいです。
Okay? Yeah, that's probably true. I understood. Of course, she didn't have a lever at all. Or she didn't have a fever at all.
先輩は私のことも姉さんに言ったんですよね。
Yeah, I told her that I turned you down first. I apologized to her too, on top of that.
先輩が姉さんにどういうことを言ったのかわからないですが、多分姉さんは誤解しているんだと思います。自分を傷つけようとしまいとして私を振ったんじゃないかって。
Misunderstood? Well, of course, she did. But to just sum it up with the word misunderstood didn't really take everything into account.
姉さんはちょっと卑屈すぎます。そんなことで勘違いして先輩の気持ちも考えず自分のことばかり考えてだから怒ってたんです。
Wait a minute, hold on.
先輩の気持ちも考えず自分のことばかり考えてちょっとわがまますぎです。
Okay. So I wonder how I have failed so miserably. And even though I had only turned them down because I didn't want to see them get upset with one another. In the end, that's exactly what happened. How could I have been so stupid?
もういいです。姉さんのことは放っておきます。
Well, it's best to leave her alone. Huh?
姉さんがあそこまでわがままだとは思いませんでしたから。姉さんが頭を冷やしてくれるまでは絶好です。
So let her cool off first. No, I had to tell her. If I didn't, then it would be my fault when things get weird between the two of us, or them. So things were already too messed up as they were. Well, I'm sorry. It was my fault.
Eh?
So, I lied.
嘘。
So what did he lie about?
とりあえず学校に行きながらお話ししましょうか。
So we walked along silently, side by side, and I felt like Yor was waiting for me to say something. So, what was the lie about? It was tricky, it was hard to get the words out of my mouth. But I had to say something. Well, okay, so I like you.
え
But you know, I like Asa too. Okay.
それは。
So I was like, well, I couldn't decide between the two. I want both of them, but I can't go with that. I made up my mind to tell her. I realized I had to tell her. But I know you wouldn't put up with that, so I just made up my mind to apologize to both of you. That's why I refused both of your feelings, but Asa must have seen through it.
へえ。
But I'm not sure how Asa will respond if she hears the truth. Like, well, Aoi wants both of us, but he can't really decide between the two, so... Yor's lips were quivering. So I suppose that is natural. But I guess what I was saying was selfish too in the end. And then, unexpectedly...
つまり先輩は私のことも好きと？
Yes.
姉さんのことも？
So both me and my sister? Well, you shouldn't say I guess so. You should say yes too. I just answer honestly. So Yori looked confused and her eyes bobbled back and forth. So like she had absolutely no idea how to respond.
さすが先輩ですね。いろいろとちょっとおかしいです。
That is kind of a weird response. Well, I realized that, and I'm sorry. So I guess if I said that, I really didn't realize what was going on. But there was nothing I could do. So it wasn't like I was unable to decide. The fact was I wanted both of them. So I liked them both so much that there was no way to compare them. I'm really sorry. So I tried to trick you too, and yeah, I'm really, really sorry about that.
でも、やっぱり姉さんが悪いですよ。それだと。
So I guess the problem is that my sister overreacted to your turned down. Wait, what?
私は姉さん以外の人間には鈍感ですから、そんな先輩の嘘は分からなかったですけど。
It's like, well, you know, I'm not really good at figuring out people's emotions like she is, so I didn't really know that you were lying.
結局それって姉さんが先輩の気遣いを無視して勝手に勘違いしてるってことじゃないですか。
Well, I guess so, but still.
だったらやっぱり姉さんが悪いです。
So you just said everything but in her usual no-nonsense tone. But it was my deception that provided the chance for her.
二人とも好きだから振りましたなんてそんなこと言えないですよ普通。ドン引きしますし。ありえないですよね。付き合う前から心が二股なんてないです。普通ないです。
No, I didn't think so either. But in this case, that's how it was. There's nothing I could do about it.
だから先輩のことを疑って
勝手に疑心暗鬼に陥ってる姉さんが全面的に悪いです。
But then again, it's still my sister's fault, because she wouldn't even talk to me, or...
先輩は気にする必要ありませんよ。
So don't worry. Yoru. So after hearing what Yoru had to say, I did feel ever so slightly relieved. But still, so you can say that, but it's still my fault, and besides, just leaving Asa all alone like that.
そういうところが火種を大きくしてるんです、きっと。先輩は優しいです。でもこういう時は優しくしちゃダメなんです。女の子は優しくされると突き上がる生き物なんです。だからその優しさに甘えて自分勝手になっちゃう。こういう時は突き放してやらなきゃダメなんです。振ろうとしたんだったら嫌われる覚悟も持ってください。先輩には人に嫌われる覚悟がありません。
Prepared to be hated. So she was definitely right about that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
私が何とかします。
Well, I'll deal with her, then. Huh?
先輩、一応聞いておきますよ。私と姉さん、どっちも好きってことに間違いはないですね。
So I want you to tell me the truth. So do you like both of us? Yes.
じゃあ、大丈夫です。
Well then, I guess that's okay.
私が何とかします。
So what is Yori going to do? So she said she was going to handle it, but I wonder what exactly she intended to handle. So I asked her, but she wouldn't answer me.
はあ、やっぱりもういる。ちょっと葵くん、何夜と二人で勝手に学校行っちゃってるのよ。
So I wonder if Kotori and Ageha are like, hey, how come you didn't go with us? You just went with Yoru. So aren't we not your buddies? Ageha and Kotori?
あーじゃないわよ。私が飛び噂に行ったらもういないし。登校日はみんなで行こうって話してたのにね。だから今朝はアゲハも寮にわざわざ寄ってくれたのに。
So come to think of it, it was true. I wanted to talk with Yoru one-on-one, but somehow after we stopped in front of the dorm, we ended up saying that we would go to school along with everyone else.
ほんと、葵ってば白状よね。なんで待ってくれなかったのかしら。
Well, I'm really sorry. There's something I want to talk to Asa about, so you girls go ahead.
朝からコソコソしてて、それも怪しいわよね。何を話してるんだか。
But then again, you have not been normal this whole morning. Well, that's kind of,
あの後、せっかく朝が元気になって出てきたのに。
Wait, what, really? Asa?
うん、私たちと一緒に学校来たよ。
So, we went to school with her.
カナが部屋に様子を見に行ったら、もうだいぶ調子が良くなったって出てきたの。それで一緒に学校に来たわけね。
Kanako.
葵くん。
Oh, she's here. So, just as we were talking, Kanako appears. Kanako, so about Asa.
そのことを伝えに来たんだけど、コトリンとアゲハちゃんに聞いたみたいね。
Yeah, so, well, I guess it wasn't a cold, was it?
そうね。ちょっとずる休みっぽかったし、連れてきちゃった。
Brought her along.
だって、ずる休みは良くないわよ。私が部屋に行った時ね、朝ちゃん、学校に行くか悩んでたの。もう制服にも着替えて。ね。
It's like, well, I can't skip class because of this, so I have to go to school somehow. Asa was going to come to school.
迷ってたみたいね。 だから誘ったのよ。迷うくらいなら来いって。
Is that right? I suppose it was painful for her to come face to face with me. That's why she didn't come down that morning. And it wasn't that she didn't want to go to school. It's just that it was hard for her to go with us. Well, I'm sorry. I am just so spineless.
気にしない気にしない。同じ屋根の下で暮らしてる仲間じゃない。手助けくらいはするわよ。
So if you need help, I can help you.
葵くん何かやらかしたの？
Well, yeah, well, I guess... Well, don't worry about it.
気にしないでって言われると気になるのが人間の差がってものよね。アゲハ、こうなったら徹底的に調べ尽くしてやりましょう。あの山に生えるタケノコのように。どういうことなの、葵
Oh, so you girls are so annoying. However, this still means that now Asa and Yoru might run into each other in the classroom.
おっと、急いで教室戻らないと。じゃあ、またね。
So Kanako then rushes out of the classroom, and I was bummed out, but before going out to the club, I wanted to drop by the first grader's classroom. So Yoru-chan said that she would do something, but these were seeds that I had sown. So I couldn't just leave it up to her. It was a school day, so school finished in the morning. And as soon as we were dismissed, I went directly to the first year's classroom. And because I thought of if I was too slow, Asa might end up going back to the dorm. So it might have been better to go back to the dorm first so that we could discuss things more slowly, but I wanted to talk about it as soon as possible. And I had made up my mind, so this was not the time to hesitate. And there's some commotion going on. So as I got closer to Asa's classroom, I noticed some kind of commotion. People were gathered outside of the room peeking inside. So what's going on?
なあなあ、何かあったのか？喧嘩らしいぜ。
Wait, a fight?
なんか、双子が喧嘩してるんだと。掴み合いにまでなってるらしいぜ。
Wait, no way.
だから部活に行かないって言うの？
Okay, so we see a fight between the twins, Yoru and Asa. So I did want to stretch this episode a little bit because I wanted to end here, right at the beginning of the fight between Asa and Yoru. So in the next episode, we're going to see how this plays out and whether or not Asa could resolve her feelings and make up to her sadness. So she thinks that I was lying all along because what you're telling me does not equate to what I usually see of you. And the problem is that Aoi wants to go out with both of these girls, but that kind of sounds weird. And it's hard for him to pick one or the other. So, with that in mind, I'll see you in the next episode.